Here are some of the most impressive Lincoln cents sold during the spring showcase auction from Stack's Bowers. We'll begin with an example of one of the best Lincoln cent varieties from the modern Memorial Cent series. The 1972 doubled obverse penny is just a fantastic coin, displaying wide Class 1 doubling on all the obverse letters as well as the date. The letters of "In God We Trust" actually achieve full separation, as each individual letter is imparted onto the design twice. As the narrator from an old TV show The Outer Limits used to say, there's no need to adjust your screen. You are not seeing double, it is supposed to look like this. This coin, graded as MS66 Red by NGC, was sold at auction for $1,140. When the Lincoln bicentennial cent coins were released in 2009, they proved to be extremely popular, the first major design update for the series in nearly 50 years, and 4 new designs in a single year to boot, all celebrating the life and achievements of Abraham Lincoln. This coin, the second in the series, dedicated to his formative years. The example we are looking at here is a high-grade example from PCGS, graded as MS68 Red, that was sold at auction for $1,320. Another example from this single-year issue series was the Birth and Early Childhood design. It features the log cabin where Lincoln spent a large portion of his childhood. This is the single finest example of this circulating strike issue known to PCGS, although a finer coin is reflected on the population report at NGC. Graded as MS68 Red, it attained a closing price at auction of $4,800, which I believe is in fact a new auction record for the type. Despite the 1933 Denver Mint cent having a mintage of 6.2 million coins, very few of them were seen in circulation at that time. Most were simply stored in treasury vaults for several years until the end of the Great Depression, at which time they made their way into the market. This example is graded as MS67 Red from PCGS, placing it near the top of the population report, though not exactly at the pinnacle. It was sold at auction for $2,280. The 1914D Lincoln cent is counted as one of the most counterfeited coins in US numismatics, making getting a slabbed coin practically a must. The reason for the coin's rarity begins with a small mintage of 1,193,000 coins, aggravated by the fact that, unlike the 1909 coins, very few were kept or preserved, either by collectors or simply as keepsakes. And mint state coins, like this MS64 Red Brown example, are even harder to come by today, explaining its closing price at auction of $5,040. In 1956, the Denver Mint minted more than 1 billion pennies for the first time in its history. In fact, this was only the 3rd time that this was achieved by any mint, following similar mintages in 1944 and 1945 from Philadelphia. The current example is graded by PCGS as MS67 Plus Red, which means that it is second only in grade to a single other example that is graded as MS68 Red at NGC. This coin was sold at auction for no less than $5,280. According to the Mint Director's report for the year 1952, several cost-cutting measures were implemented. The result was that the total cost of producing 1,000 cent coins, that's $10 worth of pennies, fell in this year to only $1.10, meaning that the total Philadelphia mintage for this year of 180 86,765,000 coins cost the mint just over $205,000 to mint, including this coin, graded today as MS67 Plus Red by PCGS, which was sold at auction for $6,600. Throughout its more than a century-long history, the Lincoln cent has gone through a number of changes, some minor, others more noticeable. Probably the best known, though, was the single year in 1943, when the composition was changed from copper to a zinc-coated steel. And of the three issues, the San Francisco Mint coin is today the most challenging to find in gem grades, even with its mintage of 191,550,000 coins. This example managed to eke out a grade of MS68 Plus from NGC and raised $7,200 at auction's close. The 1909 S VDB cent holds the distinction of being the lowest mintage coin in the entire series, cementing its legacy and status as a key date for the series, with only 484,000 coins struck by the San Francisco Mint, before the order was received to stop minting the new coin and remove the VDB from the bottom of the reverse design. Here we have an example of the coin that received the grade of MS65 Red from PCGS and achieved a closing price at auction of $8,400. The 1912 S Lincoln cent is considered a semi-key date for the series, with a low mintage of only 4,431,000 coins produced for the year at the San Francisco Mint. Today, most coins seen are well circulated and, while not too many coins were preserved by contemporary collectors. It was only in the 1940s and later when people started hoarding these coins, and by that time it was, well, simply just too late, making high-grade examples like this coin even more desirable today. This coin, graded as MS65 Plus Red by PCGS, was sold at auction for $9,600. There is no denying that the 1931 S penny is a key date for the series, with a mintage of just 866,000 coins. It is second only to the fabled 1909 S VDB cent in terms of low mintage. Most of these coins could not leave the mint until only a few years later still, as there was little need for new coins in circulation during a time when prohibition against alcohol was still in effect, and the country was in the grasp of the Great Depression. This example was graded as MS66 Red by PCGS and at auction sold for $11,400. 1924 was the first year since 1920 that the Lincoln cent was once again minted at all three working mints of Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. In fact, the director of the mint made note of this in his annual report, stating that demand for small coins, quarters, dimes, nickels, and cents in the territories served by the Philadelphia Mint was such that the stocks of those coins was exhausted and it was necessary to operate the Philadelphia Mint on a 24-hour basis. This example of that issue was graded by PCGS as MS67 Red and was sold at auction for $15,600. The typical 1915 Denver Mint penny is one that is usually struck from a later die state, and as a result displays less than ideal details. This is explained by the larger than usual mintage figure of 20,050,000 coins, the largest for the Western Branch Mint up until that date. However, none of what I just said actually applies to the current example, which simply has exemplary strike with virtually every last detail of the design perfectly struck up. Truly, this is one of, if not the finest 1915 D cent that I have ever seen. Graded by PCGS as MS67 Red, it sold at auction for $30,000. Subscribe to WNN and feel free to watch another video about rare Lincoln pennies right here, next. For the World Numismatic News, I am Numisman saying thank you for watching, keep collecting, and have a fantastic day.